Hi everybody, this is Nikki. I'm doing another video that is personal experience, personal opinion, no medical advice whatsoever. This is kind of a part 2 to the Afrezza, and this is going to be about duration of action. I'd like to say really quickly, I'm still low, so my brain is, whatever, but I think I was low for a lot of the last video. So I think that I don't know what I said. That's what I think. I know I was talking about Afrezza, and I know I was talking about its onset of action. And I know that I said that over 8 observations and a couple of months of use, that basically what I found to be true, which is similar to what they say at Mankind, is that its onset of action is about 10 to 12 minutes, meaning that's about how long it takes to start acting. And what I added to that is what that meant for me is that after 10 to 12 minutes, I saw an average drop in blood sugar of about 20 milligrams per deciliter. So it wasn't just 10 or 12 minutes before I saw, a little smidgen of whatever. It was a pretty good, pretty solid evidence that I was moving in the right direction. Okay, so now we're on to duration of action. When we talk about an insulin's duration of action, we're talking about how long it is considered in our system and still active. Its peak describes when it's at its strongest. But as long as we have it still working, we have to be careful that we're not stacking insulin. Much of our current technology takes into account our insulin on board for this reason. If I go to do a correction for a high BG, but my food bolus is only an hour old, a lot of bolus calculators or a lot of our technology is it's going to accommodate for that. And that's because when we are doing insulin through pumps or through subcutaneous shots or whatever else, the insulin is remaining active for much longer. And we're talking about for a couple of hours, anywhere from, some people say 2.5 hours, but some people say 5 hours. As long as we're doing injectable insulin in this way, we have these longer windows that we have to be careful not to stack insulin, meaning that if I see that I'm at a 250, I do 5 units of insulin, and an hour and a half later, I see I'm still at a 250. Then I go, I'm gonna do 3 units right now. But in actuality, maybe I only need 1 unit, or maybe I need none. I just have to be patient. But that's injectable, old school insulin, and that's not really what Afrezza. Well, Afrezza is a little bit different. Okay, IV injections, which I mentioned in the last video, they clear the system in approximately an hour. That's my pump saying I'm low, and that's why I'm like this, okay. But I'm working my way through. It's a little delayed, and I can feel I'm less low now, so I'm going to keep going. The IV injections clear the system in approximately an hour, and I actually think it's exactly an hour, but it's really close to about an hour. Sometimes our active insulin time, or AIT, or whatever it's called in different places, mine's set to 3.5 hours. So if I do an IV dose, it's going to be done in an hour. If I do a pump bolus, then it might be done in 3.5 to 4 hours. Afrezza, also known for its short duration of action, has a range that is dependent upon its dosage size. The common 4-unit cartridge is supposed to have cleared your system by about 90 minutes after dosing. I really like 90 minutes. That's great. The 12-unit cartridge can take as long as 3 hours, which I personally cannot either confirm or deny. I will say that I felt like I swapped, in and out, whatever, substituted in and out the 4, 8, 12-unit cartridges on a regular basis, and I don't remember thinking that any one of them was much longer than the other one. But they do report it to be taking as long as 3 hours, so I'll state that. I also know that, like anything with diabetes, there's a chance that I stop looking after 90 minutes, so I was no longer noticing, but it doesn't mean it was doesn't mean it wasn't happening. Okay, so dosage sizes. Speaking of dosage sizes, this is another very interesting topic. It's also another example of how you have to kind of free up your thinking. I don't know if I said that in video 1, but Afrezza is a new kind of thinking. And in fact, it's much like some of the new technology that's coming in when it comes to the bolus calculators. they're looking at using symbols, or kind of gross estimates rather than these actual calculators with numerical values, where they might say, okay, I'm going to sit down and eat a bowl of pasta and a side of garlic bread. That's a large carb meal, so I need a large bolus. So gone is that's 76.2, unit, carbs, and on top of a 1.2 correction. We're kind of, it looks like we as diabetics might be getting away from those very specific calculations, and Afrezza is right there in that group. Okay, so Afrezza kind of works this way. Do you need a small dose, a medium, or a large? In the case of a moderately high blood sugar with a dinner plate coming my way, I'd need a large dose. Eggs and one slice of toast, probably a small dose, something like that. Like it's that kind of thinking. Currently, Afrezza is available in 4, 8, and 12 unit cartridges. They are also conducting their studies in the Mankind is also conducting studies in the pediatric population, which, if all goes well, would mean the introduction of a 2-unit dose. Until one comes out officially, people have found ways to split current cartridges so as to get more flexible options. So people basically split up, the contents of one cartridge and put it into 2, so that instead of having to do 1 4-unit, they can do, 1 2-unit and 1 2-unit. The most interesting part about the dosage sizes, that's just, I feel like about the splitting doses, I feel like that's kind of part of, becoming diabetic, is you also become scientists, right? Like scientists and mad scientists and mad cook and whatever else. So that part, you find a way to get what you need from a dose. The most interesting part, however, about the dosage sizes and kind of about Afrezza, is how they convert. When I first spoke to other users of Afrezza, I was told it was a ratio of 1 unit of injectable insulin to 2 units of Afrezza. So the very first thing I learned is it's a 1 to 2 or a 2 to 1 ratio, meaning 2 Afrezza units is 1 injectable dose. So a 4-unit cartridge should be a 2-unit injection. So it sounded good. I went with it and it worked out well. Okay, so again, this is 2 to 1 Afrezza to injectable insulin. Then after after a month of use or something like that, I got sick and found myself upping everything because I just needed more insulin. So I noticed that my ratio kind of morphed into closer to a 1 to 1, 1 unit of Afrezza was like 1 unit of injectable insulin. But this is actually doubling the insulin. On paper, this is doubling what I was getting. So a 4-unit Afrezza then became like doing 4 units of insulin. So I needed that, sounded good, I went with it, and it worked out well. But at the time I said, okay, I'm sick. I can't really, I got to kind of throw out what I'm doing right now, because when we get sick, we need more insulin and nothing applies. Nothing, everything changes. So I said, I'm sick, that's fine. Then I got better. I noticed I was still using the 1 to 1 ratio, and this went on for some time. And then I finally did a training session with a Mankind representative over the phone. And I asked him, what is the actual ratio? I said, I'm confused because I was told it was 2 to 1. Now I'm doing 1 to 1. What is it? And he said, no, I don't know where you got either of those, those conversions. He said it's actually 1.5, I'm doing this backwards, 1.5 units of Afrezza to 1 unit of injectable insulin, or 1 to 1.5 if you're saying 1 injectable to 1.5 Afrezza. So I said, okay, right, like that's actually so I kind of tried to do that. It worked, but basically it was almost double the insulin worked the same as not double the insulin. So it was a little bit confusing. Then I went on to the Afrezza package because I mentioned him. I said, I think it's 1 to 1. And he said, no, it really isn't. But I'm like, you know what? I saw it in the literature somewhere that it was 1 to 1. He said, nope, you didn't see that anywhere. And then I pulled out one of my foil packs one day, and there on the front it says, each green cartridge approximates 8 units of injected insulin. So 8 units per cartridge, 8 units of injectable insulin. So that's a 1-to-1 ratio. So my point is, it all worked. And I think that's part of the new thinking with Afrezza, is that get rid of your old calculations. You know, you kind of just do what you need. And then that's that. I'm 10.5 minutes and I'm still wishy-washy. So I think I'm going to take a break and come back and do these tomorrow when I'm high, because that's my diabetes. I'm just joking. That was very blah, whatever. I think I'm going to come back when my head is right. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day, and bye. Oh, and I will come back and do overall ease of use and shelf stability, storage, expiration, and some tidbits where I'd like to talk a little bit about the cough and the lung tumors and whatever else. And then some tidbits. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.